NBA sixth man of the year. Jordan
Okay.
Poole, 5-1, Tyler Herro 7-1, Bones Highland 14-1, Malcolm Brogdon 14-1, Jordan Clarkson 18-1, Spencer Dinwiddie 20-1, Karis LeVert 20-1, Cam Johnson 22-1, Anthony Simons 25-1, Kevin Love 25-1, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Kelly Oubre, Christian Wood, and Norman Powell 30-1. Brandon Clark, Emmanuel Quickly, Bobby Portis 35-1, Alex Caruso, Tyus Jones, D'Anthony Melton 40-1, Luke Kennard, Derek White, Kobe White, Montrezl Harrell, Buddy Hield, Davion Mitchell, Tim Hardaway Jr., Obi Toppin, John Wall 50-1. There's a name down at the bottom there that's kind of interesting to me, I will say, as again, we talk about variance for me, and this is a team that you follow closely. John Wall at 50-1 as the backup point guard who's going to have the ball in his hands for the Clippers. I would assume he probably doesn't start behind Reggie Jackson. That's not bad to me, actually.
I thought you okay. So I thought you were going to lean Norman Powell. Okay.
Yeah, that's another good one. Like I just worry if Norman Powell starts. Like part of it is like trying to figure out who's going to start for the Clippers, right? Like, is it Norman Powell or Luke Kennard? Is it John Wall or is it, Reggie Jackson? I would think it's going to be Reggie Jackson, right? But like trying to figure out all of the moving pieces on the Clippers team, like does Robert Covington start, right? Like there are just a number of things to kind of pool. Nick Batum, right? Like what does their rotation look like? I don't really know, but I feel like John Wall is going to be a little more responsible for getting the second unit involved in a big way, even if like Norman Powell's numbers, if he doesn't start, might end up being a little bit bigger. And I think there's going to be a real narrative pushed for John Wall as well, like after the last couple of years.
And I think so. It probably didn't look as attractive last year, but I thought by the end of the Eric Bledsoe second era in LA, he was pretty good off the bench. He wasn't good at all in the starting role, like his spacing and whatnot. But I can see John Wall coming in off the bench in a way that Eric Bledsoe did, obviously better in my opinion than Eric Bledsoe, where he's just really able to push the pace, a better playmaker in the half court, probably a little bit better at pushing the ball in transition. I think he's a better shooter than Eric Bledsoe, and I think that he'll thrive next to all the shooting that could, like if he's playing with Luke Kennard, if he's playing with Robert Covington, Nick Batum, if he's playing in these units that, space the court and he can kind of get downhill and paint and spray. I think that really works. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that even if Reggie Jackson is starting, I don't think he's locked into like 30 minutes a night like he was last year for obvious reasons, the Clippers being healthy. But I like that too. And then for those same reasons, I also like Norman Powell. Like the Sixth Man of the Year award is traditionally just who gets the most buckets off the bench. Right. You see that Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, Tyler Herro last year, Jordan Clarkson, like who's just going to come in and get buckets. And I know last year in the very few games that he played with the Clippers, Norman Powell, his role is basically coming off the bench and just score. Like they didn't really have much else. Terrence Mann, if Luke Kennard was hitting shots, but like he kind of, it was his show, especially when Paul George was hurt. So I like those two Clippers guys.
I like that a lot. I really like Norman Powell at 30-1. I think that's a great call. I just wonder if he starts at the end of the day.
I think it depends on what Ty Lue is trying to do with his rotations. Like we know they're going to finish small, but I'd imagine Zubac is going to start, and then you lock in Kawhi and Paul George. Well, are one of them going to play the four, or is that going to be reserved for Covington, Marcus Morris, Nick Batum? Right. And then so it gets kind of like there's only so many spots for all those guys. So I'd imagine John Wall's coming off the bench. I don't know. I think that Norman Powell is too, but a lot left to be seen. There's a lot more time. We'll see what happens in camp and stuff.
I also have a very long shot looking through the rest of this.
Who's that?
TJ Warren is 100-1 to win Sixth Man of the Year.
All right,
TJ Warren is going to be playing with Brooklyn this year. I mean, look,
50 points in the bubble, TJ Warren. Let's not forget that.
TJ Warren in his last full season averaged 20 a night. Only played 4 games for the Pacers in 2021. Did not play at all last season. If he's healthy, he's only 29 years old. I would hope that the full season got him to where he's like back, but he probably doesn't start for them. Like, you're probably thinking that it's going to be Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant in the starting lineup, and then probably a center like a Day'Ron Sharpe or a Nick Claxton or someone like that. TJ Warren, like, definitely coming off the bench, I would think. And there is a lot of opportunity for bench buckets on the Brooklyn Nets. 100 to 1 TJ Warren. That actually, again, that's like a high variance play where like you might know by November that it's dead, but that's not a bad one.
No, I mean, for all the reasons you just named, like, if we keep talking about Brooklyn, and I know they were at the top of the topics of conversation this summer, but like, if they're good, all of these players that they have could be in contention for some kind of award just because they're that good. Yeah. So you like him at 100 to 1. I don't think he's going to start the season off healthy, so it kind of hurts, but I think Bogdan Bogdanovic at 30 to 1 would be good, especially if DeJounte Murray makes Atlanta a little bit better and they're more like the 2021 version than the 2022 version. Mm-hmm. I think that would, or 2020, whatever, the year that they were good and went to the Eastern Conference Finals. And then, I mean, they have Anthony Simons listed on here, but I think he starts, right? At the 2.
I would guess that's what Portland does, that they start Simons and Lillard. That would make sense to me.
And then bring GP2 off the bench.
Probably just as like a change of pace kind of guy. Like, you probably start Dame, Simons, Grant, Nurkic, and then maybe Josh Hart. Yeah. Maybe you start 3 guards. Maybe you do start Gary Payton. Yeah. Like, maybe it's Nasir Little and you bring Hart and Payton off the bench because Hart can give you just like a little bit of a scoring punch. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would guess he comes off the bench, or I guess he's starting. I'm sorry,
starting at the 2. Yeah. And then the other 2 that I'm really looking at, and it's just so hard because of what we think we know about the award, which is get buckets off the bench. But last year Kevin Love was in contention for the award, and that's not really his game. There's I still think that there's a seat at the table for guys that aren't just bucket getters that actually impact the game off the bench in other ways. And I'm looking at Malcolm Brogdon, obviously, plus 1,400. And then I like Cameron Johnson as well. Like, if Phoenix is, I mean, I don't think they're going to be a 60-win team, but if they're still really good this year, which they should be, I feel like Cameron Johnson is going to start to get more of a role, even though he's already had a really big role. He's going to get more minutes, like, in comparison to Jay Crowder, in my opinion. At least he should. And those are the type of steady winning basketball plays type of players that get it done on both ends of the court, that contribute to winning when your stars need to rest and when, this person goes to the bench and they're able to keep it afloat because they're doing a little bit of everything. I really like those 2. I just don't know if that's what the award is gonna, the winner is going to be that kind of player.
So I'm assuming Kevin Love comes off the bench here, right? Because they moved Lauri Markkanen and they played that weird 3 big starting lineup last year, in large part because Evan Mobley can fly around and guard everyone, and feel pretty good about that. I'm assuming they still bring Kevin Love off the bench. Kevin Love finished second for this award last year. Like, Kevin Love is a great bench player, and him at 25 to 1 is like phenomenal. This is why, like, I'm okay thinking top of the board for Rookie of the Year and MVP, whereas like looking more toward the middle of the board and like even the way back end of the board for like 6th Man of the Year, Most Improved, like awards like that, like you can find some weird variance based outcomes here. look, like Jordan Poole, I think like has a very real case to win this award. He's in a contract year as well, assuming that they don't sign him to an extension before the season, which I think would be kind of hard for them given what their tax situation would look like if they did do that. Tyler Herro, it feels like Tyler Herro wants to be a starter. And like I would think there's a spot open for him between Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler.
And Max Strus or whoever. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if he really pushed for that. I think Bones is like a year away, maybe at 14-1, like maybe not quite this year, but could compete for that award in the future for sure. Brogdon is an interesting one. Brogdon just kind of misses games here and there, which worries me. Clarkson, I just don't know what that role is going to be because that Utah team, like I don't even know what team he's going to play for. It feels like
I feel like he's going to be somewhere else, and that'll change how we think about him.
Yeah, and then like Karis LeVert is another one in Cleveland that is really interesting. Like, does Karis start at the 3 for Cleveland? Do they start Isaac Okoro? Do they start Kevin Love and like continue with the big 3 or the 3 big dudes?
Kevin Love at the 3, imagine.
But they started Lauri Markkanen last year, and I would have said the exact same thing. Lauri Markkanen at the 3. Can you imagine? But they did it,
and it worked too. Yeah.
So there's just a lot of things here. It's just such a variant award. Like Malik Monk sitting here at 100-1. The Kings are going to score. He's going to get open shots for a while. Like, I don't know. There's a world where that is interesting to me. I would say TJ Warren at 100-1 just immediately stood out to me as a variance-based play. Kevin Love at 25-1 is really interesting to me. And then Tyus Jones is interesting to me too. Like Tyus Jones at 40-1. Tyus Jones was huge for Memphis last year, and he will continue to be enormous for them for as long as Ja Morant is there. This is a team that won games in part on the back of having a terrific bench. And then, you mentioned Cam Johnson. Cam Johnson finished 3rd last year in this award. And I will say, like we talk about voting narratives and things like that. You look at what the top 3 looked like last year. Tyler Herro, patented bucket getter in terms of what you were saying previously, right? Like that's who he was. But Kevin Love and Cam Johnson are not your traditional 6th man of the year award candidates. So maybe we're starting to see like a bit of a shift in terms of the bucket getter mentality for this award.
Maybe. And I think with those 2 finishing where they did, I think that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. I mean, it's a risk because of health, but I think Boston is going to be really good, obviously. And I think that there's going to be a push for, Malcolm Brogdon coming in and sacrificing. And here we go with the narrative again, sacrificing and just wanting to be on a winning team after, being in Milwaukee, being in Indiana. Are we sure that he's gonna come off the bench? I mean, I guess they could start him and Smart, but I think he'd probably just come off the bench.
I think that he's gonna come off the bench for one.
And I mean they made I don't know what happened, but the case for Marcus Smart Defensive Player of the Year went way up, way quick last year. Maybe that has something to do with how good Boston was in the second half of the year, and if they're that good again, there's no reason to not think that Malcolm Brogdon won't be a big part of it. And plus 1,400, like I'm willing to take that bet. I do like the 2 Clippers ones as well. I would just think that maybe they take votes from each other, just with so many of them. Maybe not, because Montrezl Harrell won when Lou Williams did. So yeah.
You've sold me on the Norman Powell being a little bit better of a bet there than John Wall, especially given how good he was in those few games for the Clippers. And just what they told, it was very clear. You're 100% right. They just told him, like, go out there and score. That's what you're good at. That's what you can do. You're a phenomenal scorer. We believe in you. Just go do it. Norman Powell is a really, really good one. I like that one quite a bit as well.